want to welcome you today. And Stephen, if you could close, thank you. You read my mind there. The old saying, misery loves company, so if you're feeling cold and shut in and ready for tulips, it's early yet. But if you're feeling that way, if it makes you feel any better, where we just were out in the mountains, Jeannie had that programmed into her smartphone, and she said it's 3 degrees in Waynesville.
You gotta start without me.
Yeah. So it's colder. 600 miles south, my Aunt Barb lives in Atlanta, and they've got a good bit of snow and really cold this morning. So don't feel too bad. And did I see the weatherman right that we're going to be in the 50s by midweek?
Yes.
Hold on. In our prayers, I wish I could have been here last Sunday for Burdette and Charlene being with us, but I know it was good that they could be here. And I had talked to Burdette about that before we headed south, and he said, I'm hoping to be there real soon and maybe even this Sunday. So I knew when I left that was a possibility, but that's great. And maybe it'll be a repeat before too long here. I don't see Nellie and Betty this morning, and I know that they were both kind of under the weather. Betty maybe more than Nellie, but Nellie, because of her birth defect with her soft palate area, she has to be very careful in weather like this. It just really can make her sick, seriously sick. Jeannie, can you remember details about Dennis Wheeler?
He had surgery on his kidney. There was a cyst, a pretty high likelihood of cancer, but they didn't know as of, what day was it we saw? Friday? Or
Monday.
Yeah, Monday we saw Larry and Gail, and he had just had surgery. I haven't heard anything.
We would have gotten an update from Gail, but she's not going to be here this morning because of the weather either. And what I was wanting to be refreshed on that is he didn't go in thinking he had a cyst on it. It was
he was hiking in the mountains in Georgia, and he got stung by some kind of flying insect, which he's highly allergic to. And when he had to go in the hospital because of it, and they did a CAT scan because of the insect bite, and they found the cyst on his kidney.
yeah. So one of those things that may work out for the good, but we sure hope everything's well. Dennis is Larry and Gail's oldest son, married to Carrie Applegate, and they have 2 daughters, and they moved to Atlanta not too long ago. But anyway, he's a pretty strong guy, and to have this. So let's keep all of them and others in our prayers. Let's bow together. Father, we thank you so much for the new year. We're grateful for our church family. And many of us are spread out at this time of year. We pray for those of our congregation in the South that you would be with them and be with us this winter. Bless us as you always do. Thank you for your word. Help us to delight in the study of your word, and be with us today in our study and worship. Through Christ we pray. Amen. Vic mentioned to me that Tony and Amy are in South Carolina today, this weekend. Joshua chapter 3. Oh man, it seems like a long time since we were in Joshua 2, and Jeannie, you haven't been in Bible class forever, so we welcome you today. As I say that, somebody will come in with a little one that shouldn't be, but we appreciate all that you do that way here. I would rather teach you guys 100 times than teach the little kids class one time. That would be the harder preparation for me to do that. Joshua takes over from Moses. The goal is to go into the promised land. But as God has been all throughout Exodus and all throughout eternity, he's God. And things are to be done his way. That's certainly one of the great lessons of the 40-year wandering in the wilderness. And much has happened over those 40 years, and now they come literally to the precipice or to the edge of the Jordan River, and it's time to go in and conquer the promised land. Now, for some people, that word conquer, I was thinking the other day how, and I'm not insensitive to us choosing our words carefully, but we have become such a politically correct culture. The image, and I guess it draws up multiple pictures. Songs that were in our books like well, help me here, Stephen. What are some songs that depict battle? Stand up for Jesus. But the image that I'm thinking of here is this promised land going in to defeat the opposition. Anybody, can you think of a song? I had one and it slipped. Well, that's a good one too. That may be more thinking about.
Are you talking about the words about battle?
Yeah, the words about battle, and in Christians almost in a picturing Christians in a the mode of what was the campaigns during the Middle Ages where they were going to help out? The Crusades. The crusade image, which we used to sing about quite a bit, we've cooled that, and probably with some justification. Ray?
Onward Christian soldiers.
Onward Christian soldiers. Thank you, brother. That's one that really pictures it, doesn't it? So we don't sing that anymore. Part of the reason that's not in our repertoire is probably eschatology. A lot of those. Mark, my brother-in-law, sings loudly in the shower before he goes to work. He showers before he goes to work, and usually he's showering about 1:30, and I'm in my study, and I can hear it, and it's kind of sweet to me because it reminds me of Jeannie's dad, Mark's dad, because he used to love to sing around like that too. But Mark really cuts loose in the shower, and he's got some of these songs that are really deep down inning from his childhood days in the Deep South. And one of them that has he was singing the other day is, "We'll work," he's getting ready to go to work. So, "We'll work till Jesus comes, we'll work." Some of you remember singing that song quite a bit ago. But he was really cranking it out. And then he knows that maybe the lyrics are not necessarily fully scriptural for us nowadays, but anyway, I'm sidetracked on that, and we got to focus here on chapter 3. So Joshua gets up early in the morning, and they set out for Shittim to go to the Jordan. They came to the Jordan, they lodged there before they crossed. And at the end of 3 days that the officers went through the midst of the camp, and they commanded the people. Now listen to this. Here's precise language. When you see the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God with the Levitical priest carrying it, then you shall set out from your place and go after it. I just finished reading a 450-page Battle of Shiloh down in Corinth, Mississippi. And all throughout the Civil War, there were so many, this is one of the most strangest twists. The Battle of Shiloh, the word Shiloh is a derivation of the word shalom, which means peace. And the Battle of Shiloh was terrible, one of the worst, 60,000 plus casualties. I mean, it was just blood and guts all over this field. And I'm only thinking that because here too, they're told in advance, when you see the flag, when you see so-and-so leading the charge, everybody together. And that's kind of what this is early on. When you see the Ark of the Covenant, we don't have time to discuss the Ark of the Covenant as kind of a warrior god image. It's not a vain image, but it is symbolic of God's presence in times, all times, but especially in times of battle. So they're told, when you see the Ark and it being carried, pronto, everybody get in place because it's time to go. But then they're told, verse 4, there shall be between you and it a distance of about 2,000 cubits. Somebody translate that for us. Do not come near it, that you may know the way by which you shall go, for you have not passed this way before. Anybody, can you help us there?
About 1,000 yards.
All right, that's a pretty good distance. So when you see the Ark, fall in line behind it, but don't get too close. And we've talked about this before, about the whole, as it pertains to the holiness of God. And even those who were carrying the Ark had to be very, very careful. Everything had to be done in the way God instructed. Now, anybody want to comment on that? This again is kind of it's a hard sell in our grace-filled environment in churches all across the land today. And many times we're real quick to just read passages like all of these in the Old Testament and almost conclude, well, the God of the Old Testament is persnickety. He's type A, and he's all focused on somebody, just almost like a cosmic cop, just waiting for somebody to do something wrong so that he can smack them down. But then we quickly come over here to the New Testament, and God is just a fun, loving daddy that wants everybody to be happy, and he is daddy in the sense of an intimate meaning of Abba, Father. But what we've got to be very careful here is that we don't somehow draw such a distinction between the Old Testament Jehovah God and New Testament Jehovah God. They're one and the same God. And yes, we now have grace, but that doesn't, to say that we now live in an age of grace does not mean that we taught God by our records. Or is there a better way of saying that? Even though we live in a covenant of grace, we can't take God's teachings lightly. And the covenant of grace, the new covenant world in which we live, does not mean then for us that there are no rules or that God is no longer holy. He certainly is. Burdett, what a thrill to have you back. I told everybody I knew there was a possibility you might be here last Sunday, but I was gone, so I missed it. Good. Do you get my point? So part of our struggle today is we're talking, I think there was an article, if you get Christian Chronicle, about postmodern truth. A lot of people today, years ago when I first began preaching, One of our aims was to try to get people to sit down and have a whole Bible study. And one of the real important things that we tried to set, by which we tried to sell this program, was to appeal to people saying, let's find out what the Bible says about this. There was a sense of the Bible had authority. And back in those early days, in the 60s and 70s, there was a great appeal. People of all denominational stripes were eager to sit down and say, let's find out what the Bible says. And it opened the door for all kinds of studies. Today, and I don't want to sound like a cynic or really pessimistic here, but our world is quickly becoming, let's have a Bible study and find out what the Bible, what God says about this. But even if you pursue that and you come to a rough spot in the road, maybe a point that they don't agree with, there's almost a default where I know that's what the Bible says, but I don't believe it. I don't agree with it. And we're finding this more and more on all manner of things. And I don't know what the answer to it is. If I wasn't so old, I'd go back to school and I'd study how to preach to a postmodern world. And it's a challenge. It's going to be a challenge. And part of the challenge is God's word is still authoritative, but yet we can't look at all the thinking of people today and say there's no use. I'm not at all ready to shake the dust off my feet with it. It's not just a younger generation. It's a different mindset. It's a different way of thinking. So somehow we have to go with Paul to Mars Hill, to Athens there, and see all of this stuff and try to appeal to their senses and sensibilities. And I don't know the best way to do that. I mean, I'm struggling like all of the rest of us. When we read things that are clear, and again, just as an illustration, without meaning to disturb anybody, but when it comes to things like, it's strange here, you don't have too many people that would object. I don't know too many people that would object to saying, if I stand here and say it is wrong to be sexually immoral, it is wrong for a man to sleep around on his wife. Everybody seems to be, we're okay with that. Now, maybe not everybody, but if I say sexual immorality is wrong and same-sex activities are wrong, you have a host of people nowadays that are just saying, well, I don't agree with that. And it doesn't matter too much to them what the Bible says about it. Now, if they were to take a posture where they were saying, I don't agree with that, but I'm willing to look at that, and my point is that we've got to be delicate and considerate in how we try to reach that community. I'm all for that. I think some of us have been really rough and almost arrogant in dealing with that problem. And I talked to somebody's daughter, probably a year or two older than me, who goes to Arizona or New Mexico for the summer, and used to be the daughter of an elder. And she said, Terry, I don't go to the Church of Christ anymore. And this is part of her beef, the way we've handled this issue. And she has a sister who's married to a preacher, and they have been real strong in fighting this idea. And so it has just been clash of two ideas. One sister who stands with her husband, this is bad, this is wicked, this is evil. But maybe it's partly the way that they've gone about it, combating it, that has been so detrimental. So I'm all for us being kind and gentle, but we have got to we've got to realize that the God of grace, the God of the new covenant, is still a holy God. And when He teaches us something, we've got to honor it. We've got to be careful that we follow it. Now, I don't know if it's been because I haven't preached for a couple of weeks, but that's a whole lot like preaching there. I don't know how that got out. Joshua chapter 3. Anybody comment or question there, Ray?
You know, if you take a look at the historical reality of the time, you can understand why God had such harsh rules, because it was kill or be killed. If they did not go in and wipe out the Canaanites and all these other people, they would have been wiped out. And, you know, it's a matter of fact of war. I mean, it's not like we fight wars today. It was all or nothing at that time.
That is a great observation. I really appreciate your bringing that out, because so many times people who read the Old Testament, they just can't believe that God is, in a minute we're going to read here where God is going to tell them, you're going to wipe out all of these people. And you read that and you say, I don't get this. Isn't God a God of love? He is, but sometimes love requires firm treatment. And these are people that I'm not sure we can grasp the attitude or the war mentality of and the evil in some of these ancient cultures, like the Canaanites. We talked about this at length in our series on Jonah. Jonah absolutely did not want to go to the Ninevites. And some of us maybe say, well, why? What was his problem? Well, they were Ninevites. And they were bad, bad people. And to bring them the news of salvation. All right, any other comment before we get back to the text? Burdett.
Yeah, Terry, today, is this one of the problems that the Jewish people have in following, in other words, these nations? Do they still consider this thought that they have to wipe out these other nations? Because Israel's always had a problem with neighboring neighbors and different philosophies.
Well, there may be two different ways to look at that. I don't see Israel so much as the aggressor as I see Israel as being on the receiving end of a lot of the aggression. There are anti-Semitic groups that absolutely make no qualms about we want to destroy Israel. And we'll see that in this morning's sermon, by the way, Burdett, just amazingly in the story of Esther, because there's two prime characters there. There's Mordecai, who is a Jew, and there's Haman, and they absolutely despise each other. And Haman is the proactive one, at least early on. He wants Mordecai to hang, and he schemes to bring that about. And all of this goes back, as we'll point out in the sermon, to their history. So there is history there, and there is difficulty between what's happening in the Middle East today. I heard somebody the other day say this, and I'll just throw it out for what it's worth. They wanted to make, they wanted to paint the new administration, the incoming administration, as being very anti-Islamic. As if they hate everybody that is Arab or whatever, and that they have no tolerance, a lack of tolerance among the incoming administration. And the person that was talking turned that a bit, and he said, now wait a minute. And he pointed out, he said, if we're going to talk about a lack of tolerance, there has been nobody that has been any more hard-nosed than the Islamic people. They want to annihilate the Jews. And this guy went on to say, it wasn't Trump followers that went into a nightclub down in Orlando and killed a bunch of people. It was the Islamic influence. And so he was just trying to point out, let's be fair about this. Everybody wants to now turn things and say, you guys are so intolerant. But what's been the driving force behind so much of the terrorism that we've seen? It's not that Israel is going on the warpath about people. It's because the Islamics hate the people of Israel. As to why that is so deep-seated, that's probably a good study to have in and of itself. Stephen?
With Joshua, you have a lot of courageous, there's a lot of courage, a lot of bad things going on, things that make us feel good. But there's a great tragedy in this book that with the Israelites, there is a stunning lack of faith because they're told during the time of Moses, okay, you're going to go in here. There's seven civilizations. You're going to wipe them out. Do what you wish with the other people. Judah does what they need to do. Hey, how about a couple others? And after that, everyone just sits around because they're like, well, and Joshua's like, why haven't we taken the land you're supposed to take? Well, I don't really think we can. Yeah, so they put them, and I'm not saying that this is because this is what to say, but in this time period, they put themselves in a situation where they do not finish the job.
Very, very good comment from
and it's what destroys them later on.
Yep, that's right. It has consequences for a long, long time to come. All right, let's go back to chapter 3 and verse 5. God says, tomorrow you're going to consecrate yourselves. They're going to cross the Jordan, but before they do that, they have to consecrate themselves. What does the word not concentrate? That means to focus on the task at hand. But consecrate, what does consecrate mean?
Making themselves in a right relationship with God.
To set yourself aside. It's very much like the word sanctify. So they've got a job to do, but the first thing they need to do is to clean up their own act and to essentially, this is an affirmation that we're going to follow God's rules in this. So Joshua spoke to the priest. He told them to take up the Ark of the Covenant, cross over. They took up the Ark of the Covenant and headed into the river. The Lord said to Joshua, I'm emphasizing this because, again, this is a transition from a great leader, Moses, to now Joshua. And how do you begin to follow in his sandals or fill his shoes? The Lord said to Joshua, this day I will begin to exalt you in the sight of all Israel. He's not saying I'm going to make you a god. He's just saying I'm going to help you in the task at hand. And the people are going to know that you're the new Moses. So God said to him, I'll exalt you in the sight of Israel, that they may know that just as I have been with Moses, I will be with you. And we cannot fathom maybe the fear and trepidation with which Joshua accepted the assignment to take on the leadership of Israel after the passing of Moses. It had to be difficult. How do you do that? But he did, and now God says, I'm with you, and I'm going to let the people know that I'm with you. So then he commands the priest who are carrying the ark, when you come to the edge of the waters, we'll read this and then we're going to have to quit. And I promise next week I won't come preaching, I'll just come teaching. When you come to the edge of the waters of the Jordan, you shall stand still in the Jordan. Then Joshua said to the sons of Israel, come here and hear the words of the Lord your God. And Joshua said, by this you shall know the living God is among you, and that he will assuredly dispose from before you the Canaanite, the Hittite, the Hamite, the Perizzite, the Girgashite, the Amorite, the Jebusite. Those nations Stephen referred to. Behold, the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God is crossing over ahead of you. So then they're told, take for yourselves 12 men from among the tribes, one man for each tribe. So this is a ceremony. Let's close here by thinking about all of the, think of the peril involved in this. How large a group of people this is. We don't know exactly what the size in that point in time of the river that they're crossing. Sometimes the Ashtabula River was nothing. Then we'd go down and play in the Gulf, and if you ran into knee-deep water, trying to get from one side to the other, that was a big deal. So I don't think that's what we're talking about here. The Jordan River is substantial. It may not be the Mississippi at this point in history, at this geographical siting, but it's a considerable, it's more than just walking across on some dry stones. So think of all the logistics involved and all of the drama involved here. God is, he's really making a point here. Select one from each of the tribe, and then we'll, so read ahead on that next Sunday and fill in the details in chapter 3 so that we can talk about this more next Sunday. Closing comments, Burdett?
If you go ahead a little further, we find that the 2 tribes that stayed along the east side of the Jordan, they had to come across and help defeat it. And if you look at the numbers of the men that came across, I think it was, 60,000?
Yeah, that's a good point, too. Some of the tribes are going to settle east of the Jordan, but God still demands of them that they actually be pathfinders, that they be forerunners, that they lead the charge. And I don't know why it was that when we crossed the Jordan, all of a sudden the enemies got more ferocious, but quite often that's the way boundaries were. So west of the Jordan were these nations that they were going to have to battle with. So God, and this is Burnett's point, and look for that. You'll see that. It's very clear. God says, you'll settle east of the Jordan, but before you do, we're already standing on your ground. But you're going to help us go in. You'll be the first responders as we attempt to conquer the land west of the Jordan. Anybody else last word? All right, thank you.
Yeah.